Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, and don't freak out, but I'm driving and it's snowing. It is, whoop, that wasn't smart, but wanted to show you real time that it's snowing outside. And so today's tutorial is going to be on multitasking. And multitasking is, I always called it multi-failure, but there's actually science to it. So the in the prefrontal lobe, which is the front part of the brain, there's actually a physiology that occurs when you are trying to think, and it only allows you to effectively think with one goal in mind. So I got a green. So the goal that you set out to do is supposed to be concentrated on, and everything of the powers of your brain are focused on that one goal. And you're not supposed to let go of that goal until you decide that second goal, instead of A, go to B. Second goal is the primary target. The problem that I think happens with multitasking is that it can be real easy to do a lot of things at the same time, especially with the advent of the internet. You can click on one screen and go to another app that's running in the background, click on that, adjust it, go back to the other screen. But honestly, human brains will only think about and try to solve one problem at a time. And so what happens is when you switch back and forth, you're actually turning one problem on, turning one problem off, turning the other problem on, turning that off, and going back and forth. You're just doing it infinitesimally fast. And don't think that that's a good thing, because it's in the short run it can be a good thing. In the long run, what usually happens is you find that you'll be able to go between tasks, turn A off, turn B on, turn B off, turn C on, turn C off, go back to A. You can go between tasks really quickly, but usually the brain will have a delay in solving the goal. So the decision making for that goal, because you switch off to other goals, will be slower. And what usually is found is the more goals that you have in your bucket of things to do, you might be able to manage them, but you're actually not going to, statistically, you're not going to be able to settle and complete the goal as if when you're doing other goals, when you try, compared to when you just stick with one goal at a time. So I'm very arduous. I'll always pick one goal, do it, and as best as possible, if I'm interrupted, I'll put it on freeze. And I'll usually have to hold an object or a key on the keyboard. Then I'll listen to what the other person is asking me, say between patients. And then after I have accomplished that task, because that becomes B when my A is still in play. When B is accomplished, I'll let go of the key, and then I'll go on to finish A, if that makes sense. So I don't like multitasking. My wife is very good at it, and I think there are some patients that are very good at it, but really, statistically speaking, you will take longer to complete several different tasks than stick with one and go to completion of the single task. And because there's goal decisions, and then there's also tasking. So when you pick a goal, you stay focused on it, and the brain is given a little bit of a reward when you finish that goal. You have this thing called dopamine. It's a hormone in the brain. It's a reward thing. Usually, people that get addicted to drugs or alcohol, they go because there's a dopamine surge that occurs after you have that rush or that thing that you want. Well, same thing can be had when you accomplish a task. That's why it's so addictive to finish the task. But the problem is, like in cleaning your room, if you just have monstrous piles of things in your room to clean, I remember this from high school, it's like, oh, I'm not going to start that. But if you attempt to start it, you feel real good, and you'll continue to have the desire to finish that task because you know what's coming at the end. So the experience in the past when you finish a task is dopamine surge, reward. So, and if you keep on remembering those things from the past, those experiences, it will have you always look forward to completing a task, which is good. So, and that could be taking care of, and again, that's instinctual, like taking care of the tribe, gathering food, hunting, and making sure the plain is clear of predators. When you complete the task, very good. And again, it's better for society as well. So there is a biological thing that happens in the brain that makes it more delectable to finish one task at a time. Sometimes people are so tired or they don't have any dopamine, so they're kind of wasted on no dopamine, that they'll want to have, they might not be able to complete a task, but they'll want to have a tiny task accomplished. And so you'll see that multitasking thing. Now I'm driving, I have the defroster on, I'm watching the guy in front of me, I'm watching the person behind me so I don't get hit from behind, and then I'm looking at the road to see where the rut is. I can follow the rut with my snow tires. So, and then I'm talking about this subject, and I'm making sure that the camera is focusing on me. So I have multiple tasks that I'm doing, in addition to swallowing, breathing, keeping my eyes moist, all the digesting, I just ate earlier on. So all those things that your reptilian brain will take care of, that's all default mode. So your brain has this level of default mode where it can just do things, do very, very easy tasks that you practice over and over and over again. It can do that without even thinking. The problem is when you layer a bunch of them together, you might take longer to complete the task, and then you're going to be inefficient. Or the studies have shown the more complex your tasks become, the slower the reaction time. So I hope it doesn't happen to me. I'm trying to pay attention, I'm trying to talk at the same time, but because I'm driving and talking, and this light is in my eyes, and I'm trying to make sure that you're still on, there's a couple different tasks that are infinitesimally going to slow me down by a tenth or a hundredth of a second if one of these tasks goes off. So in this case where it's snow, if somebody stops in front of me or comes out because they didn't judge properly and they're sliding into the intersection, then I have to react. My reaction time will be 1/10 to 1/100th of a second slower because I'm multitasking. So that could end up as a problem. And that's just small problems. If you have a fire that you have to take care of, and a baby that's hungry, and medicine you have to deliver, and a calculus test you have to prepare for or perform, that is going to be even slower of a response time, and the task will not be accomplished. So I bring this up because I think I'm really good in the clinic as far as multitasking, but honestly, the statistics show that the more tasks I take on, the slower the endpoint to completing those tasks, or the higher the error in finishing one or two tasks. When I'm taking care of somebody's medicine or life, there's no room for error. So in our compressed schedules nowadays for regular people, when doctors have to compress the same, there's going to be a problem. And if you look at, I believe it's the number 5 cause of death in the United States, it's medical problems, medical error, going to a hospital. Number 1 is always going to be cancer or cardiac. They kind of fluctuate back and forth, and then respiratory, and then a couple other things, and then it's iatrogenic, which is usually going to be hospital-based. So whether it's in hospital or in a clinic, I don't want to make a mistake, and we have to be very careful with multitasking. So luckily I am almost at my destination, and I'm just about done with the tutorial, and this guy on my left is making me nervous, so I'm gonna let him pass. So I'm taking the easy way out. Get ahead, dude. You don't stay in somebody's blind spot and just hang out there, by the way. Anyway, so if you have any comments on how you've been able to maintain your multitasking, or if you've had any accidents or problems when you multitasked, please put them down below. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to me and follow my Quantum Shift, the new series I'm doing as I'm finding my way through this storm of life. Ooh, that's pretty good. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.